I heard crazy rumors of an action-packed 2-5 poker game out in College Station, so I absolutely had to come see what all the hype was about. The poker room of choice today is Jokers of Aggieland, a fun little room out here right on the Texas A&M campus. As I grabbed my seat at the 2-5 table, it didn't take long for me to realize that all the rumors were true, as I'm immediately welcomed with the $10, $20, $40, and $80 straddle. If that wasn't crazy enough for you, we play a ton of multi-$1,000 pots this session, along with the hand of the night featuring a $4,000 pot with, yes, you're seeing that right, 7 deuce.
I go for it with 7 deuce.
But before we get there, let's rewind a bit back to hand number 1, where we find ourselves in the $20 straddle with Jack 9 of spades. We've been pouring up some drinks, so everyone's feeling plenty loose at the table already. The big blind calls, I put in the call, and the $40 straddle somehow folds, but the $80 straddle decides to let us live, and we're gonna go 3 ways to the flop. The flop puts a little bit of everything out there. Ace 10 8 with 2 diamonds. I obviously have the open-ended straight draw. I have a backdoor flush draw as well. And Harry in the big blind leads out for $200. Not really going to be raising, but I don't want to fold, so I just call. And we're going to go heads up to the turn, which comes about as good as it gets. The 7 of clubs, bang, we turn the straight. Harry decides to bet out for the same $200, and now I have to spring the trap, raise it up here on the turn in order to get stacks in. Also, I don't want another diamond to come on the river, so in case he has 2 diamonds, gotta charge the maximum here, and I go for $500. Harry doesn't think about it for more than 5 seconds before putting in the additional $300. We see a terrible card on the river, the deuce of diamonds, bringing in the front door diamond draw. He checks in flow over to myself, which is pretty standard. What's not standard is what he decides to do next.
Yeah, I think my hand. You're too nice. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. No. That's good content, though.
After a little bit of table talk, asking him if he liked that river card, he throws both of his cards over to me. That's not a muck. He's basically saying I can look at his hand. It's obviously a joke. I'm never going to turn his hand face up. But after a little bit of posturing, I decide I can get called by worse here. So I jam my entire stack all in. It has him covered. He has around $700 left in his stack. His cards are still sitting right in front of me, very tempting, and then he says because it doesn't influence his action, I can turn his cards face up. Definitely a first for me on the channel, someone throwing me their cards and not mucking, and then I get to expose ace-jack offsuit for top pair with the jack kicker. Love my jam here with the jack high straight. Obviously against his hand it looks like a no-brainer jam, but there's still that front door diamond draw that completes on the river. Really happy I went for thin value. After a little bit of posturing, Harry decides to toss in 1 red chip. That's a call. All of his chips are going to get shipped over to me. Kind of unfortunate. I'm taking him down. He's a fun player, but I'm not going to be complaining about taking down a $3,200 pot. The very next hand, we look down at King Kong here from the small blind. The $10 straddles on, and Harry in the cutoff raises it up to $50. The player to my right on the button, G, puts in the call, and of course I have to spring the trap here and raise it up to $225.
$2 on a squirt.
Harry calls, we lose G, so still heads up out of position here to a flop with the exact same opponent as the last hand, and it comes Gin once again, King, Jack, 4, bang, we flop the nuts. I bet out really small here for $150, just looking to induce. I know sometimes you could start with a check considering you have all the kings blocked, as most likely holdings revolve around queen 10, queen jack, ace jack, all of that good stuff. But I love a $150 bet here and love it as well when he puts in the call. The turn now comes the 3 of spades, and I decided to play it sneaky and start with a check. The 3 doesn't change anything. I still have the nuts on the board, and I want to make it look like I could have a hand like pocket queens or ace queen or ace 10, ace 5. You gotta balance your turn checking range. Can't only be checking when you have a hand that wants to give up. Also have to throw a hand as strong as top set into the mix as well. He's not going to take the bait on the turn and checks behind, but the ace of hearts on the river completes queen 10, but it also improves him to some 2 pairs like ace jack, maybe even ace king if he has that strong of a hand. Nothing for me to do other than jam it all in, covering him once again for around $650, and he snap calls me with ace queen offsuit, so unfortunate for him there, he makes a pair on the river. Back-to-back hands, I'm stacking poor Harry here, a $2,100 pot being shipped over to me. Let's not forget, you guys, this is a 2-5 game, so pretty absurd. We just played an over 400 big blind pot. It's getting shipped over to me in a nice healthy addition to our chip stack. We're getting all the premiums tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Pocket jacks now from the hijack. The $20 straddle's on and I raise it up to $60. Joe on the button clicks it back to $160. He's crafting up an interesting line here, and I can't go anywhere. I put in the call with my jiggities. Off to a flop we go, which gives me second pair on a queen 6-4 board. Checking in flow over to Joe seems appropriate, and he decides to fire out for $110. Nice small bet. GTO approved, and I gotta put in the call with my second pair. He could still have ace king, ace 10, just a bunch of hoopla, so I put in the call and the turn comes the 10 of spades. I check it over to Joe once again. If he goes for another bet, he probably has a strong hand revolving around the queen, or maybe even kings or aces, so I definitely would have to give up, and sure enough, he fires out for $325. No-brainer decision for me. Jacks are just not gonna be good here at a good enough frequency, so fold my cards and he does not show. 3,600 now in our stack. I look down at pocket tens in the $80 straddle. What a great sight to see. Trace, a fun player here in College Station, limps. Andrew raises it up to $350, and both of us find the call. Before we go off to a flop, I should note that I can raise here as well. I could make it like $900 to $1,100, but I took a more passive line, and we are gonna go three ways to the flop. Flop comes ace 5-5 rainbow, and Andrew now fires out for $600. It's kind of a sizable bet. I would expect him to go a little bit smaller, but $600 is just big enough for me to fold. I muck my cards, and he shows the table that he had the best hand, turns over the 5 of spades. We look down at 7 deuce offsuit now from the small blind, and you better believe that the game is on $25 a pop. So if I get this through, we're gonna get over $200 just for winning it with 7 deuce offsuit. Brady in middle position bets out for $35 over a $10 straddle. I raise it up to $140. Obviously have to play it like I have aces, and Brady gets sticky, puts in the call. We have our work cut out for us here, and a 9-4-3 board doesn't offer us any help. Gonna down bet here, make it look like I have a hand like 10s through aces. I fire out for $90, and Brady, love the kid, he folds. So we're gonna take down this pot, win $25 from everyone else, and look at Brady's face there. He knows it's coming. Turn over the goods. Everyone is gonna owe me the bounty. All right, next hand, pocket tens in the cutoff. Get used to it, guys, because tonight I'm picking up more tens than Chris Hemsworth at an open bar. All jokes aside, we do have tens here in the cutoff. I make it $90 to go over a $30 open. Gage, one of the owners here at Jokers in Aggieland, 4-bets me to $225, has position on me, and I decide to call. 5 bets could be in order, seems a little bit loose. I want to play a pot here with Gage, and off to a flop we go, which comes Jack, Jack 7 with 2 clubs. The action goes check, check on the flop, bringing in the 4 of hearts on the turn. I check once again because he can still have queens, kings, and aces. I really shouldn't have those hands. All that jazz means that he has the range advantage still. So when I check it over to him, he fires out for $150. Got to put in the call. There's some club draws, and he could have 2 overcards like king, queen, ace 10, ace, king, all that good stuff. I put in the call for $150, and the river card comes the 6 of clubs. Would be nice to have a club in my hand blocking some of his club draws like king 10 of clubs, ace 10 of clubs, queen 10 of clubs. When I check it over to him, he wastes no time before firing out $515 to polarizing near pot size bet. We both should be able to have the same amount of jacks, so at this point I'm putting him on a hand like queens, kings, or aces, and then all of the random hands that missed like ace king, ace queen, king 10. It's pretty evenly distributed between main hands and bluffs. Now we gotta factor in the vlog equity. Gage is the one who invited me out here, so he definitely wants to make the vlog, which makes me think that he is more likely to be bluffing here, but at the same time, people just don't really bluff that often on a paired board with 2 clubs that come out there. So eventually I make the wrong decision and fold my cards, and Gage shows queen 3 of diamonds for the airball bluff. The owner is action here at Jokers. Come on out. He'll definitely give you guys some action. Really wanted to call in that last one. It's unfortunate I couldn't flick in the call and take all of Gage's money, but instead we're rewarded with pocket tens once again. Wasn't joking, you guys. It's the night of tens. I'm in the low jack this time, and I make it $60 to go over a $20 straddle. Gage isn't going to miss the opportunity to put in the call and play in position against Wolfgang here. He puts in the call, and now Dylan sees a good squeeze spot and makes it $300 to go. I think pocket tens play pretty nicely against a squeezing range from Dylan. I call, and Gage does as well. Off to a flop, 3 ways we go, which comes ace, king, deuce. Wah, wah, wah. Pretty gross having 2 overcards there in a 3-bet pot. Check it over to Dylan, who surprisingly checks behind, bringing in the 9 of diamonds on the turn. When Dylan checks back on the flop, I don't think he's ever doing this with ace king, aces, or kings, unless he's just super balanced. But I think a player like him is going to go for a c-bet, try to put more money in the middle, and against these 2 deep stack players, myself and Gage, try to get stacks in by the river. So when he checks back on the flop, I'm going to go for a small bet here of $300, just tickle the pot and try to get everyone to fold. No one seems super interested. Gage's range is pretty capped. He can't have aces, kings, and ace king. If we can get Gage to call and Dylan to fold, I think I can take this away on the river. The river comes the 9 of hearts, and I decided to bet out small here for $450. If he has a king, he pretty much has to fold. Any ace shouldn't fold for any size of a bet, so I like going small here, and I could also have a 9 in my hand as well. An interesting thing happens here after I bet out for $450. Gage shoves for only around $150 more. It's a $600 shove, and now I look like a complete idiot. Everyone's wondering why I'm wasting their time. Just put in the call. It's $150 to win a pot of $2,600. So surely I have to be getting the right price to call. What they don't realize is I have third pair, having pocket tens, and there's no way Gage is shoving here for only $150 more with a hand that doesn't have me beat. So with my tail in between my legs, I fold my cards for only $150 more. Everyone's shocked to see that, and Gage kindly turns over Jack 9. So he rivered 3 of a kind. Without the 9 or a jack on the river, our bluff gets through, but instead he hits like a 6-outer and is taking down this $2,600 pot. At this point, I add on for $4,000 after losing a sizable bomb pot. I'm currently down around $1,000 on the session after being up pretty big in the first 2 hands versus Harry. But don't click away, this is a turning point of the vlog. I'm veering up for a huge comeback. A bigger comeback, you might say, than LeBron's hairline. Remember I hinted at all the 10s I was picking up tonight? Well, the mood has changed. The next 4 hands are all ace-king. I start off in the first one winning a small pot, and then look down at ace-king offsuit once again now from the small blind. Dylan makes it $30 to go from the hijack, and I want to choose a large sizing here out of the small blind, given the fact I'll be out of position the entire rest of the way. I make it $150 to go, and Dylan is sticky and puts in the call. Off to a flop we go, which comes ace, queen, queen, rainbow. Could mix between betting and checking. I decide to check, given the fact I'm either going to be way ahead or way behind. Dylan checks behind, and the turn comes the jack of spades. Once again, could bet or check. Dylan could have some queens in his range, and I think checking allows him to go for some bluffs, so I check it over to Dylan once again. Unfortunately, he checks behind. The river card gives me 2 pair on the king of hearts, and now I got to go for some thin value. 305 in the middle, and I bet out for $150. And Dylan thinks about it for a little while before raising it up to $450. Obviously don't love that because river raises usually aren't a bluff, but Dylan is a good, capable player. There are some missed spades out there, and the likelihood of him having a 10, I don't know. I mean, I guess he could have one, but he's more likely to have a queen or a missed spade draw. I decided to put in the call. My hand is just a little too good and under-repped. It's a good thing I did because he turns over a pair of jacks. Jack 7 of clubs, and I'm going to get shipped that $1,200 pot. No worries, Dylan. We pick up ace-king offsuit once again from the small blind. Yes, the button has gone around once. We find ourselves in the exact same position against the exact same opponent. Dylan makes it $20 to go, and I 3-bet him to $125. And he puts in the call once again, trying to avenge his last loss. With $255 in the middle, we flop ourselves top pair again. Ace-jack 9 with 2 diamonds. This board is a little bit different. I fire out 1/3 here for $75, and Dylan puts in the call. On the 4 of clubs turn, I size up now for 2/3 to $290. And now Dylan decides to raise me to $750. Obviously don't love this, but as we saw in the last hand, Dylan is playing pretty aggressive tonight. He could be doing this with queen 10, king queen, king 10, and any 2 diamonds. He also might have a hand like deuce 3 for a gutter, or any 2 naked diamonds. So I can't fold just yet. Having top pair with the best kicker seems pretty great. I put in the call, and the river card comes an interesting card. It's the jack of spades. And of course, I have to check it over to Dylan in flow. Now in my head, I'm telling myself if he bets here, I'm gonna put in the call. He's gonna have a lot of combos that don't connect with that jack. Queen 10, 2 diamonds, king 10, king queen. And the hands that he's representing are now a lot narrower. Pocket 9s would make sense. Ace jack would make some sense, but given the fact there's another jack on the river, doesn't make it too likely. So I'm telling myself I'm gonna call a river bet. When I check it over to Dylan and he thinks for about 15 seconds, he ultimately decides to check behind. This $1,900 pot is going my way when I expose my cards, and he lets us know he had the 9 of spades. So no jack on the river. He tells us he was firing again. Who knows if I was going to be able to hold on. Lucky for us, we pick up a jack, a board pairing jack to be exact, and taking down a nearly $2,000 pot. All right, we get a celebrity guest appearance from He-Man, who steps into the box to deal us ace-king offsuit from the small blind for the 4th time in a row. If you guys watched the last vlog here from College Station, you'll remember He-Man cooked up the best poker song ever created.
I just wanna drink a cold beer and play me some poker.
All right, back to the hand. We look down at ace-king offsuit from the small blind. Andrew opens it up to 35, and G on the button puts in the call. I make it a large sizing of $175 to go, and both players get sticky and call. We flop ourselves the nut flush draw on a queen 7-6 board, all diamonds. Could bet really small here for around $50, or I could check. I decide to check and flow. I don't want to get raised here and bloat the pot with just a draw. Surprisingly, the action checks through on the flop, giving us a board pairing queen of clubs on the turn. If I had a hand like aces or kings with a diamond, I probably would want to bet small here. That's what I do with my naked ace of diamonds, and Andrew and G both put in the call, bringing us the deuce of diamonds on the river. Bang, we river the nut flush. The board is paired, so it's not exactly the nuts on this board, but it's the best possible flush out there. I think that is deserving of a $250 bet. Andrew folds. G, though, is going to look us up and put in the call. I turn over the ace of diamonds, and he snap mucks. We're going to take that one down here, give him some camera time, and a $1,200 pot coming over my way. Thank you, He-Man. And now my favorite hand of the night, we look down at 7 deuce offsuit once again. Now from the hijack, there's a limp and a raise in front of us, and of course I have to go large here with 7 deuce, and I make it $70 to go. Bustos puts in the call, and G does as well. We're going 3 ways to the flop here, which comes 8-6-5 rainbow. We flop ourselves an open-ended straight draw, about as good as you can get with 7 deuce offsuit.
I would love, yeah.
Usually I start with a check in between 2 opponents, but not this time with my 7 deuce. I want to take it down right here, right now, and I fire out small for $70. Both Bustos and G put in the call, which means we're going to want to see a 4 or a 9 on the turn to get maximum value and maximum pain for our opponents, and quite frankly, the rest of the table who's going to owe us $25. He-Man is still dealing, so you know the cards are hot, and the 9 of spades peels off on the turn. Bang, we turn the straight. I can't believe my luck. I'm trying to get one through against these guys with 7 deuce offsuit, but the deck is in our favor, a 9 high straight, and now I'm going to slow down and check and try to get stacks in with the old check raise. Bustos takes the bait and fires out for $225. He could have a very good hand like 2 pair or a set. Hopefully he doesn't have a 7, because then we would chop and then ultimately not get the bounty. But when G gets out of the way, I go for the old check Rizzy here to $750, putting Bustos in a gross spot. If he had 2 pair or a set, I still think he has to call. I shouldn't really have too many 7s in my range when I raise pre-flop and then bet the flop as well. Most likely it's going to be aces, kings, but those really aren't going for the check raise on a 4-liner to the straight. So it's pretty much a set, a straight, or nothing. I'm hoping and praying for a clean river. What does that mean? I don't want the board to pair. I don't want another spade out there. So of course, He-Man delivers with a 3 of hearts, allowing me to posture for a second, do my best Hollywood before jamming all in for around $1,000, covering Bustos and letting him know he has to play for his stack. After about 30 seconds in the tank, Bustos decides if he's gonna go home, it's gonna be with this hand. He puts in the call, and I turn over the goods. 7 deuce offsuit. Not often you're playing a $4,000 pot with the worst hand in poker and also winning and also collecting the bounty. This one was a short. It's already up to like 2 million on Instagram. Go follow me there if you haven't already. He-Man in the box is a deadly sight for the rest of the table. Wolfgang taking down a $3,900 pot plus a $200 bounty. That's gonna wrap up the session, but I take that $200 bounty out to the college bars. Gage and I split a table at one of the bars, and they bring out a massive sign, Jokers x Wolfgang. Although they get it wrong with the U, it's still pretty sick. Ended up meeting a bunch of vlog watchers who came over to our table. We took some shots, we got on stage, It was definitely a fun end of the night. We brought it back over to Jokers to see how we did. I got in for 2,000, topped up for 4,000 more, out for 97.55, so a profit of 37.55 in 6.5 hours. I love the action here in College Station. You guys should hit up Gage and come out to Jokers if you are in the area. That's going to wrap up this vlog, you guys. Be sure to check out some other crazy low stakes vlogs that are on your screen right now. Click one of those, and I'll catch you in the next video as always. Peace!